Hello, everyone. It is October 24th, 2018, and this is Unfound Live. In contrast to the recorded show that comes out every Friday, this is live as live can get. Kelly, you are first in. That happens quite a bit, Kelly, I think. Welcome tonight, Kelly, and Shelly, and Cheryl. And who else is going to be tuning in here tonight? Got a good show planned. I don't have any questions yet, so if you'd like to ask me any questions about anything, fire away. Pamela and Amanda and Dan and Ann and Sarah and Kate and Shelly, everybody, good to see all of you tonight. As I already said once, if you'd like me to answer any questions that are on your mind, maybe think something outside the realm of true crime and missing persons cases, I'd be glad to answer that for you. If I could fit it in tonight, which I'm sure I will find time. And Sue, Shani, and Christy, and Sarah, and Adrian, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. Heather, as you probably know already, I said that I would announce this on the show tonight if you saw this. Hey, Janet, what's going on? I did not win Mega Millions, although I will tell you, I had two of the numbers. I had the 5, and I think I had the 28, but I didn't have it, and which you don't get any money for that. I didn't have the rest of the numbers or the Powerball numbers, so there you go. I had the 5 and the 28, and I guess it's just one ticket in South Carolina, although that might be a group of people who all bought one ticket. I really have no idea. Maybe some co-workers that did that. It would be something if it was just one person. Now, that would be something. We'll just have to see. And Michelle, did you just write "Yo Dog"? Did you just write that? That's funny. That's a first. I can guarantee you that's a first for Unfound Live. Guaranteed. Michelle and Joyce and Cherie and Laura and Sarah, you didn't have any of the numbers. I'm sorry to hear that, Sarah. And Lori says she didn't play. Lori, you're better off, probably. And Maureen, although I have to admit, yep, I got a ticket for tonight's Powerball that will be coming out in 1 hour and 57 minutes. So I can't help myself. When it gets up, you know what? I don't start playing until probably it gets up to around 400 million. Anything below that, I let it pass by. Once it gets to that level with Mega Millions or Powerball, then I think, well, you know what? Now you're talking about some real money. So I don't play it when it's like now that Mega Millions is down to 40 million, I won't play it. Carrie, what's going on? So South Carolina, somebody was very lucky, and I hope that they put that money toward something good, giving back to the community, giving back to friends and family. I hope they make some good investments. I hope that they don't be like Steve Martin and the jerk and buy all this crazy things, because there are stories out there, many stories about people who have won quite a bit of money in lotteries, up into like 40, 50 millions, and then blew it all. Just blew it. And they'll say that it ruined their lives. I guess it just depends on the person. You know, money is not going to make you a good person. And if you make bad choices, having more money is only going to exacerbate that. Whereas if you generally make good choices in your life, then I think if you win something like that, then you have the opportunity to be even better. So there you go. Hey, Donna, what's going on? Michael and Angela, Jill, and Donna says, I needed that money in my life, what I would do to help people. I know you would, Donna. I know you would, and I think a lot of people feel that way, especially people I think that maybe deal with what we deal with, that what I talk about every week, and people that follow true crime and hear all of these stories. about people who are in much worse situations than ourselves. I do think that, should people that follow true crime win something like this, I can, pretty much guarantee that somebody would put some money toward helping these people who are worse off. I don't doubt that at all. And it would certainly be my plan. That would be the major plan, if, I would ever hit something like that. Crystal, what's going on? And Jamie. Sarah says, I did a real estate loan for a lady who won a California lottery. She was a teacher, quit her job, traveled, etc. Awesome for her, Sarah. That's pretty cool. So Powerball, like I said, an hour and 54 minutes. We'll see if it's like 600 some million. We'll see what happens, right? So there's that. There's not, I have to say, there's really not much going on here. As you can see, I'm in Madeira Beach. Just been taking it easy. Doing a lot of phone calls. Already have most of the episode done for Friday. Of course, we'll talk about that later in the program. Going to be working on an interview outline for probably next Friday's episode tomorrow, and maybe get that interview done this weekend. Just doing the regular stuff around here, keeping busy. Cases get sent to me. I talk about some, Emily, as you know, people she's talking to, and she's telling me, and she's giving me phone numbers to call. Just the regular kind of stuff going on. I don't think anything too crazy or unusual. The poll from the Dale Kerstetter episode, the final tally was not sure, and the question was, if you don't know, was that, do you think that Dale Kerstetter had something to do with the theft at the Corning plant, and of course the night that he disappeared? And the answer that got picked the most was not sure. Of course, the other answers were yes and no. More people picked not sure than the other two, but it wasn't like by a huge margin. I think not sure got like, 40% of the vote, and then the other two got like 30%, something like that, or 40 and 35 and 25, something like that. So I can understand that. I think there are a lot of open-ended questions, a lot of answers we don't have, and it's certainly a case that I'm glad I got to cover, and I'm glad that Heather Grotman came on to talk about it. I hope that you've gone to her blog since you found out about her last Friday. So, although I have to be honest, I continue to be pretty sure that he had something to do with the heist. And in fact, if you are a Patreon member, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, I wrote like a 3,000-word blog regarding Dale's case, Dale's disappearance, that you could read. Once again, if you're a Patreon member, for as little as $2 a month. That's a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal there. If you'd like a more in-depth analysis of what I think happened that night. So, Dee Wonder Woman, what's going on? Kristen, good to see you. Marky says, if I had the money, I would help the missing more. I know you would, Marky. Michelle said, I would travel and spread the word about missing and human trafficking. Great. Sarah, what do you think about those women found in the river? That's a kind of a new case. I really don't know what to make of it at this point in New York about these two women being found duct taped together. I don't know, Sarah, a little too early. Michael says, if I won, I'd know what I'd do with it. Cherie says, not sure in regards to the Dale Kerstetter question, I'm sure. Alexis, she's in Seoul, South Korea. Are you, Alexis? I know I've seen you in the group before. I had no idea you were over there. It's 10:07 on Thursday here, so 10:07. I don't even know. In the morning or the night, I don't even know. On Thursday here, I can never usually watch live because I'm at work. Well, Alexis, thanks for tuning in. Good to see you. Carrie says she's still on the fence quite a bit about Dale's episode, I guess. Cherie is saying that the Unfound blog is the best blog. I can't help but agree with that statement. And Susie, what's going on, Susie? Sarah says $2 a month is just a little over 7 cents a day. Sarah, thank you for detailing that. I don't think I even thought about it that way. Thank you for breaking it down. That is a very good marketing point. Thank you, Sarah. They're very smart. I should have thought of that. Susie, I'm gonna talk about Jamie Kloss tonight. So please don't go anywhere. And Shelly says she's leaning much toward Dale having something to do with it than not something to do with it. Okay. And Dorothy, what's going on? Okay. Next Wednesday would be the next Unfound episode, and that is Halloween night. I'm not going to dress up, so don't even expect that of me. What's going on, Marky? But maybe we might try something next week where we talk about our favorite Halloween costumes or something. But I plan to do it at the same time at 9 at night. Probably as we get closer, I'll be seeing what people think about that, considering I know a lot of you are parents and maybe going out trick-or-treating with your kids. You're going to have people coming to your house. Maybe we'll alter that a little bit. But for now, it's just going to be 9 o'clock. So there you go. And then this Sunday, of course, it's going to be the last Sunday of the month. And so that will be October, what would that be, 28th. And, of course, another new article will be in the Tribune Review or at triblive.com, a disappearance from the Pittsburgh area. And that's going to be the disappearance of Devin Brown Bucetta. She is a woman. And she disappeared from the Mount Washington area of Pittsburgh in 2006. Very interesting case where she hadn't been in Pittsburgh long. She had gotten married, but then her marriage was on the outs and she was living by herself. And then she didn't show up for work one day and her car was found at a gas station down the street. So Stephen Huba, who you now know is the writer for the Trib that does all these cases that I work with, he got to interview Devin's aunt, and I think he's lined up a couple other people that he talked to that are going to be included in the story. So I hope you will check that out at triblive.com on Sunday. Of course, I'll be linking to it. Sarah, I'll probably will turn off the lights and glow in the dark next Wednesday night. That's a good call. What's up, Nicole? Halloween is your birthday, Michelle. Wow. Well, you know what? And another thing, my mother's birthday is tomorrow, October 25th. Don't worry, I've already gotten her present handled. Handled it a week ago. So I'm not going to say what she's going to be tomorrow at her age, but her birthday is tomorrow. So there you go. What, Michelle? Halloween is your birthday. Michael, your birthday is on Halloween too. Wow, okay. Wow, all these people born on October 31st? Really? We just had something happen within the last couple of weeks where 3 former guests of Unfound all have the same birthday, which I don't know what the statistical odds are of that, but that has to be rare. So we have some people here who know people who are born on Halloween, October 31st. That's interesting. Okay. All right. Let's get to, I haven't had anybody ask me any questions yet about anything. I guess let's talk about Jamie Kloss. Let's talk about her. I think that, this is a case that's been going on for a couple weeks now. A girl who is missing from Wisconsin. The police showed up, found her father murdered inside the front door of the home. The mother was also murdered, and Jamie was gone. And since then, there have been a couple sightings of her, even one here in Florida. Not sure what to make of those. You know what I think about sightings of missing people. I usually don't lend a lot of credibility to them. And it does seem that after them looking all over the United States and putting out this word that she's missing, it seems that the search has gone back to just looking around her home, that area, maybe within a mile or whatever, of her house for any clues. So it seems like it's very national very quick, and now it's kind of contracted into that small area in Wisconsin where she lived, and to see if any clues could be found. Hello, Kelly. What's going on, Stephanie? Glad you got in tonight. Glad you didn't forget it was Wednesday. Michael is in Halloween, but he knows mine is LOL. Okay, I'm not sure what that means, Michelle. Okay. And Michael says, oh, your niece maybe is born on October 31st. All these people. Okay. Interesting. These statements by the neighbors, a lot of, I guess, I don't know if they're unusual. Statements like the neighbors, did they really say that they didn't even know that the Klosses had a daughter? But then you hear other things. She was, very involved in school and all these different activities. So I don't know what to make of that. But from what I know about it, and I've done a little reading on it, is that it was something that happened early in the morning, so like 1 in the morning, and it seems, being that the father was shot right by the front door, that I don't know if somebody knocked on the door, rang the doorbell. The father goes down to check the front door, but then I read that the door was kicked in, which is kind of, I don't know how to look at that. Does that mean that he was about to open the door and somebody knew he was there and then kicked it in? Or he opened up the door, saw it was somebody that he shouldn't let in, and then closed the door, and then the person kicked it back out? I don't know. I don't know. And once again, these are news articles, and if anybody knows how news articles can kind of short here and there, it's me, because I run into that with a lot of cases that I cover. And that's something, that with me working with the Trib, that we've tried to correct in the disappearances that they've covered. I am inclined to believe that this was done by somebody who knows the family and knew Jamie in particular. Now, the bad news about that is that it doesn't seem that anybody that the Klosses know is also missing. So maybe a circumstance of, some guy shows up, goes into the house, kills the mother, kills the father, takes Jamie, and then they go on some like cross-country trek. To my knowledge, there's nobody who knew Jamie that is also missing, because that would have to be the case for Jamie to be with somebody else. So I'm ruling that out. So it comes down to, unfortunately, 2 other choices, neither of which are very good. One, Jamie is not with us anymore. And whoever kicked that door in and did all of that has gone back to their life and may get away with this for a while. The other choice could be something like Ariel Castro, where the guy went in, got Jamie, took her back to his house. I'm, of course, just taking for granted it's a guy. That makes sense. And now she's being held somewhere, in a basement somewhere, or in a closet or some. No good choice in that either. No good, feelings from that as well. I just have to believe that if somebody is, it wasn't being that the father was so close to the front door doesn't mean that this was what you would call a break-in, something like the original Night Stalker. People were in bed, he shows up, gets in somehow, and surprises the couple in the bed, which is, of course, as we know, what the original Night Stalker did on a lot of his, incidents and attacks and murders. This is not like that. And in fact, it was enough time that the mother, it seems, had a chance to call 911, and that's how the police showed up there in the first place. Although she wasn't able to describe anything. So, the other thing I'm thinking about is that, if I get and it probably for most of you, what's up, Pamela? If I get a knock on my door, now granted, you should know, here in Madeira Beach, my front door, which is right over there, faces one of the busiest streets in Madeira Beach. Now, that's not saying a lot, but there's a lot of cars that go by here. And I have a lot of people that walk by here to go to the beach. A lot of people will, rent a condo back for me, and they'll walk out to some of these bars that are down the street and everything. But, if I get a knock on the door, I don't have a doorbell, I'm not just going to automatically open the door. I don't have a peephole, so I'll look out one of my side windows to see if I know the person, if it's late. And I do that even during the day too. So I'd have to believe that the father did this. He's not just going to, 1 in the morning, just go up to the front door and just open it right up. This is what then also leads me to believe that whoever did this was someone, he would only open the door or even be close to the front door if it's somebody that he knew. Pretty sure. Sherry is saying that she thinks it's scenario A, meaning that Jamie's not with us anymore, is more likely. Sherry, I'm going to have to probably agree with you on that, although I have no inside information. It's just that probably makes more sense. That is probably more likely statistically. Jennifer says, don't you think if she'd had an online boyfriend or something along those lines that they would come to light? I think so, Jennifer. But maybe this was somebody that was admiring Jamie from afar, maybe. And Lois, what's going on? Good to see you. And Michelle says, I agree, Cherie, but I never understand taking one person away. Sarah says, my son is watching from Idaho. Well, hello, Paul. Thanks for joining in. And Ashley, what's going on? So I agree that, I'm sure they've checked her Instagram, and if she had a Facebook account. Young people aren't into Facebook, so maybe, Snapchat or something like that, for any types of those things. And I would have to agree that, if there was any signs that somebody was stalking her or something, I think they would have discovered it by now. I don't know if to tell the public, but, they would surely do that. But just the scenario feels to me like it was somebody that at least knew Jamie. I think I would feel differently if it was just a regular break-in where everybody's in bed, something happens, and, the father and mother are shot in their bed, and then Jamie's gone. Then of course, people are maybe going to start thinking about like Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman. Because in that case, those 3 guys that did that didn't know the girls. I think they knew the Freemans had a daughter, but the girls, Laura and Ashley, were not the target of that, as we now know. This, on the other hand, certainly feels like Jamie was the target, given the circumstances of somebody coming up to the front door. And, it also tells me kind of that, an experienced criminal or experienced rapist or somebody like that usually does not have a lot of fear, going into houses, just going in, not ringing a doorbell, not knocking on a door, whereas somebody who doesn't have as much experience and is maybe afraid, has never done this before, is going to think, well, if I break something in, maybe he'll have a chance to get his gun, and, if he owned a gun, and then I might get shot. But if I go up to the front door, knock on it, he's going to know me, and he's probably going to open the door for me, even though it's 1 in the morning, and then I can do something. Just a thought. But I'm going to be very surprised if this is a complete stranger who did this. Very, very surprised. Michelle, sounds similar in some of the things in Brandy's case, like the Candlelight Vigil, like Castro case with Amanda Berry. Shelley says, I think that Jamie was specifically targeted either by people who knew them or by someone that would have been watching them for a while. Paul would say, okay, there's Paul. Hi, howdy. Janet says it could be a case like that girl's parents were best friends with a man that he killed the mother and son and kidnapped the girl. I can't remember her name. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Janet. Hannah Anderson might be the name. Okay, that does not ring a bell, Janet, but I'm sure you're correct. Michelle says, I think Jamie was the target too. Immediately, just a feeling. Diane, what's going on tonight? Thank you for tuning in. So that's, I don't know anything more than any of you do in Jamie's case. In fact, I'm sure that you followed it more closely than I have, but I had the opportunity to talk to a couple listeners privately over Messenger about it. And this is, this is my conclusion. Once again, I think the main point is that the the father was found close to the front door. You know, it sounds to me like within feet of the front door. It's a huge giveaway to me that somebody knocked or something like that. And I think the only type of person who would do that would be somebody who would know the clauses. That's what I think. Stephanie says, "Damn, it's one thing to kidnap, but double murder. Damn." Yeah, Stephanie, I know. Cherie says, "Howdy. Too many Texas cases." I can dish out all, you know, if Wiedersehen, Toodaloo. I got them all, Cherie. I got them all. Let's go to another piece of news. Something that I am following closely, because these, you know, just something that catches my eye. Have you seen this case? I think I posted it in the group maybe last week. I think this happened over a week ago now. Is the murder of Kelsey Quayle. She was a model in the Atlanta area. She hadn't been there a lot. She's not originally from there. I forget where she was from, maybe Michigan or something. And she was down there. I think she had a boyfriend. And she was driving to work early. In fact, it was so early, it was still dark out. And she was involved in a head-on collision. Her car had strayed into oncoming traffic, and the two vehicles hit. The other people in the car survived. I think they're fine. But when the cops got there and sorted everything out, they figured out that Kelsey had been shot. She was in the car by herself. She had been shot, seemingly, probably, from another car, and had been hit in the neck, at the base of the neck, killing her instantly. Car swerves in once again, traffic, and she hits, I think it was a white minivan. And they have released a variety of angles from a convenience store of her car and these other cars that were around hers at the time. And you will see, like I said, there's a variety of angles, but I'll just describe one of the angles. You'll see like a white Suburban go from left to right across the screen. And then right in front, well, actually kind of to the side, because by that time, Kelsey's car is already in oncoming traffic. There is a gray sedan that is also going left to right. And they stop the tape like right here, like right where her car is about to hit this minivan going the opposite direction. It's like they're just about to touch, and that's where the video ends. And like I said, I don't believe anybody in the white minivan was killed, but as you can imagine, it's a pretty horrific wreck. And, you know, I have some thoughts on this. You know, being, as some of you know, I am a gun owner. I've done my fair amount of shooting and everything. It's very difficult. I mean, it was dark, two cars. You can't see the driver in the other car. This had to have been, I'm going to guess it's easy to say this was some type of road rage. Maybe. It's 6 in the morning. Maybe Kelsey cut somebody off and she didn't know it, or maybe she did it on purpose. And then this other car has, you know, the owner is having a bad morning already. I don't know. Some psycho, I don't know. And then points his gun or her gun, I mean, it could be a woman, out the window, shoots at Kelsey's car, and just happens to hit her. Now, from what I've read, there's only been talked about is one shot. There may be more, but from car to car, two moving cars in the dark, to hit another person with one shot right here has to be one of the luckiest / unluckiest shots ever. Now, it may be possible that there is some, I don't know, some guy with a high, or woman with a high-powered rifle that is doing something, going way back to like those killings in the Washington, D.C. area by Melvo and the other guy back then who eventually got caught. Maybe it could be something like that, but I don't think so. And here's the reason. Just want to go some of the, Michelle saying so random and strange. Cherie says crazy. Carrie says, I read about that. So sad and unnecessary. Could be road rage. Michelle, possibly. Paul, sorry you're late. I'm talking about Kelsey Quayle, a woman who was shot in her car while going to work in Atlanta, Georgia. And you can look it up. Just do a search for Kelsey Quayle. I'm sure you'll see it. Oh, thanks. Sherry says that's an impossible shot. I agree. Unless we find out that the car was riddled with bullets, and that was the one that just happened to strike her in the neck. I just don't know. But if it was only one shot, and I'm sure what they did was go back through, they probably went back down the highway and looking for any shell casings or other bullets using a metal detector. I'm sure they did that because this is an out-and-out murder. I think it was somebody in the gray car, and here's why. If you watch the video, first of all, the police are looking for the drivers of the white Suburban, the first car that goes by going left to right, which was a white Suburban, older Suburban, maybe 90s, early 2000s, something like that. At least that's what it looks like to me. And then this gray car. Well, the Suburban is well ahead, whereas the gray car, when you see it in the video, is like almost like right beside. So this would be the gray car, and this would be her car. They're almost side by side, and that gray car did not stop. The person driving the gray car had to have known that a head-on collision happened right over in the next lane. But the police are looking for both. I can see why the Suburban wouldn't have stopped, because the Suburban was well ahead of Kelsey's car. But that gray sedan was almost right beside when this head-on collision happened, and the driver didn't stop. To me, that is a telltale sign that somebody in that gray car knows what happened. The problem is it's a gray sedan, and there are a million of them out there. So I don't think that this was a situation where it was some sniper along the side of the road. My money, maybe my Powerball money, is on that person in the gray car shooting Kelsey for whatever reason. And once again, what I'm using is the idea that the car just kept going. The head-on collision happened a split second after the gray car passed the Caravan that eventually got hit. A split second. If the person didn't see it, surely would have heard it. It would have sounded like a bomb going off. If you've ever heard two cars head-on collision, which I have, it sounds like a bomb going off. You'd never miss it, no matter how loud you have your stereo turned on. The car kept going. So it does feel like road rage to me. And the bad part is that who knows if they'll ever catch this other person. Who knows? When that story came out, I posted about a guy who was shot similarly over here on the 275 in Tampa, or the 75, whichever one. And that case is still unsolved over 10 years later. And that happened in broad daylight. Broad daylight. So, but in that case, there was no videos, so that would make it a little tough. Very interesting case. I'm going to continue to follow it. If I run into anything, I'll let all of you know. But if you go and watch the video, I'd love to hear your opinions on it too, what you think you see from the video. Shelly says, I haven't heard about it, but it would be possible that someone was in the car with her. In the wreck that happened, Shelly, it was a head-on collision. If she had a passenger in the car, the passenger would have been stuck and would have been very injured. Very, very injured. It was a bad, bad wreck. So, no, it had to have happened from something outside the car. And I'm sure they'd check, if the windows would be blown out. But the police know how to check that stuff. Emily, what's going on? Good to see you tonight. Thanks for joining us. Pamela says, how does the shooter know she wouldn't run into it high speed? Well, I think this is a situation, Pamela, where if it was this person in the gray car, they don't know what's going to happen. They are just maybe, for whatever reason, ticked off, shoot it, Kelsey, and the head-on collision just happened to happen. I don't think the person pulling the trigger ever necessarily thought that a head-on collision would happen. I think that's just what kind of happened. Because what happened over here in Tampa with that unsolved case, he got shot and just ran off the road into like the berm and hit a tree or something. Didn't hit any other cars. So Pamela says, I wouldn't have stopped. Well, Pamela, you know, would you really not stop if you saw a head-on collision? Really? A head-on collision in the over here, you wouldn't have stopped just to see if everybody's okay. I mean, somebody's going to the hospital in head-on collisions. Really? Okay. And by the way, now that I see Emily's name on here, I want to thank all of you for wishing her a happy birthday. Thank you for doing that for me on, I guess it would have been, was it yesterday or the day before? The days go by so fast. All of you who wished Emily a happy birthday, thank you. Thank you very much. You have the allergies going on, Emily. I see. Emily's saying, thank you all. I'm in Arkansas with my family. It was for my birthday, so it was all good. Good. Yeah, Cherie is saying the trigger puller could not have planned it that way, meaning could have never planned that Kelsey would, you know, veer into the oncoming traffic and hit a car coming the opposite direction. Yeah, there's no way to have planned something like that. So, and in fact, it may be if the shooter's ever caught that the person's going to say, well, I didn't mean to hit her. Well, yeah. Maybe just to scare her. She ticked me off. You know, I was in a bad mood and everything, and I didn't mean to hit her. I was just trying to scare her. But that's not going to fly in a court of law. It's just not. It's going to be murder, and not in the first degree, maybe, but second degree or third degree, depending on the statute. You know, you just have to wonder, had she not hit that other car. I mean, I even did like a Google map on it just to see the location and did a street view and everything. You know, she would have, if she had not hit a car, she would have traveled quite a ways and run off the other side. It would have been interesting to see where she ended up if she hadn't hit a car. And I you know, and you just have to be glad the people in the other, in the minivan or person in the minivan wasn't killed, because head-on collisions are usually bad news. Bad news. So there's that. Pamela says, if I wasn't able to help and dark out and I'm old, no, I'd call police and report. Okay, Pamela. I get the idea that the person in the gray car didn't do anything because they don't know, the police don't know the person's identity. And the only reason they could not know it is if the person kept driving and never called 911 or anything. So, and what's going on, Lisa? Good to see you tonight. So I wanted to alert you to all that, just to something, you know, you don't see those kinds of cases every day where a driver gets shot in a car while it's moving, and you know, and there's no witnesses, you know, and it's going to be a mystery for a while. And unfortunately, even with the video, it very well could be a mystery for a while. Now, I think what I would do if I was the police, although this might not work right away, is usually people who are out at 6 in the morning or whenever this one are going to work, and they usually take the same roads to work, streets to work. Well, if that was what was going on this morning, and of course the person in the gray car is going to say, you know what, I killed that girl, I want to get away with it, I'm going to start taking a different road. Well, that's going to be a longer way around. Human nature tells me that eventually that shooter will eventually come back to start driving on that road because they're going to be bothered taking, they might do it for 6 months, taking a different way to work so the police can't figure out who the shooter is. I believe eventually, though, that person will come back and drive on that street, and that might be how the police catch him or her, by being staked out there 6 months from now, 8 months from now, if it's not solved beforehand. Just my idea that came to mind. Michelle says, I agree, sounds like they ran. I agree. Carrie says exactly 911 would have record of calling, usually person's name. They would have followed up with the callers. Exactly. Well, the police don't know who the driver in the gray sedan is. That's a huge telltale sign that they're involved. Stephanie, look how much people rubberneck. Hard to imagine someone driving by without stopping or pausing at least. Carrie says, unless they were in a rental car. Carrie, very insightful comment there. Very possible. If that's the case, then this may never get solved. Ever. Ever. That's how big of a mystery it may be. You know, unless they can get the bullet and save it, and then any other shooting in the Atlanta area, they mark up the bullets or something like that, like you see done on crime shows. I don't see another way. If this person was driving a rental car or something, I just cannot visualize how this case would ever get solved then. Pamela says they might sell that car. That's a good point too. Pamela, very insightful point. Nicely done. Yeah, that's going to be a bit. What I think I know about that is I think the police might look into that as well. I suppose if I watched the video long enough and could get a good enough resolution and started going through like a list of sedans and looking at them and compare, I could figure out what kind of car it is. It's just, maybe somebody's figured that out already. So they may be looking for a particular color car that might get traded in somewhere in a used car lot. They could sell it. That's a good point. Get rid of it fairly quickly. Hopefully, if dealers know in the area about this, that they'll keep their eyes peeled. For somebody who seems overtly eager to get rid of a car, hopefully a used car dealer or somebody will notice that and call the police. Hopefully. But yeah, those are great points. Rental car, might sell the car. Yeah. Yes, Joyce, we can only hope that the person has loose lips. I'm going to probably guess not, though. This is probably a crime that was committed by one person, heat of the moment, and probably no other people involved. Because, if this was like 10 at night or like 11 o'clock or midnight, 1 in the morning, then you might think kids out, gangbangers, shooting between cars or something like that. Well, this is at 6 in the morning. And a different type of person is up during that time, usually people going to work. So, my impression with people who have problems with the law is they go to bed late and get up late. That generally they're not out at 6 in the morning. And, those types of people, I don't know if they start shooting people because of road rage. It seems to me that when we find out people who have suffered road rage and, cut people off that caused accidents and deaths or pulled a gun out and everything, a lot of them tend to be regular people. They don't tend to be people with long criminal records. So, and once again, I think that's the reason that this case over here in Tampa has been unsolved for so long, because it may be somebody who just lost their mind for a couple minutes, and then the rest since then is lived a perfectly, legal life. Makes it tough. It's tough. All right. By the way, I got an Unfound shirt on tonight. You can go to myshopify.com. Check these out. Please do. I already mentioned Patreon and how you can get access to the private blog. Read what I write about every case that is covered on Unfound. And, the big thing going on there is I offer, on the program, I don't like to do a lot of theorizing because I don't like to influence any of you in any particular way. I want you to listen to the episode and take whatever you get from the episode. But I do have a chance to get into more criminal crime theory, more human nature, and things like that. That's what I write about in the blog. So you might find it interesting. I think it's a little bit of a unique crime blog compared probably to a lot, that you may read out there. So Patreon, PayPal, Unfound at podcast@gmail.com. Of course, we got the playing cards. They're right here. Who do we have? There we go. Brandy Wells. Claudia Wells, what's the odd that I pick somebody with the same last name? Brandon Williams, a case that I was just talking about with his sister Stormy a few days ago. So you can go to makeplayingcards.com if that's something that interests you there, and I would deeply appreciate that. Yeah, Cherie, 3,000 words last week for the blog. That was the longest one ever. Even longer than the blog I wrote concerning Thomas Brown's disappearance. So once again, if that's something that would interest you, for as low as $2 a month. Kimberly, thanks for tuning in tonight. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let's go to the other piece of news that caught my eye, and then we will get into this week's case. Janet says Joanna's going to be joining Patreon. Thank you for your help, Cherie. Cherie, thank you for helping Janet. Thank you. Kimberly says better late than never. You can catch the beginning part in reruns, Kimberly. Jon Benet Ramsey. Yes, there is Jon Benet Ramsey news. Maybe some of you saw this. One of the DAs, a former DA from the area where, of course, that murder happened of Jon Benet Ramsey. I mean, it's been over 20 years now. It's hard to believe. I think it's been over 20 years. Just unbelievable. One of the DAs is being subpoenaed in a lawsuit. The brother of Jon Benet Ramsey, and you'll remember, I think within the last year, he was interviewed on some program. I did not see it. My personal feeling about the Jon Benet Ramsey case is it's gotten to the point of sensationalism. And I want it solved as much as anybody else, but it was easy to tell with what they were going to do with her brother that it was only being done for ratings, and they were going to try to get him to say things that he didn't mean, and everything the opposite of how we do it on Unfound. Everything the opposite, and Dr. Phil and all that stuff. To me, all of that stuff is crap. I'm just being honest with you. I know a lot of people get into it. I know it gets great ratings. I know it gets people talking and everything else. But as a guy who does true crime and missing persons cases on a daily basis, 24/7, I don't respect that kind of journalism. I don't respect what they're doing there. I'm just being honest. So I have no issues with her brother now having a $750 million lawsuit against CBS and the producers and other entities that have covered the case and pointed the finger at Jon Benet Ramsey's brother. Now, I know all sorts of people are suspicious of him, okay? But as I've learned myself, of course, on Unfound, we talk about suspects. We do, and I like to, and we name names. Now, sometimes guests don't want to name the names. We only use first names. Sometimes we use aliases. It just depends. It all depends on them, okay? But the way we do that is we just talk about the facts. Now, it may be that some of the facts do make people look a little guilty. We can go through case after case where that's been the case. But we don't lie. We don't take people out of context. I do not edit the interview to make something look something other than what it is. And every guest that's ever been on Unfound knows that. I don't edit interviews to make something seem like something else. Never do it. Would never do that, ever. And see, to me, this is the mistake that, of course, was made in this case, what was done with Jon Benet Ramsey's brother. Now, don't get me wrong. He may be I really don't know. It could have been the father, could have been. I know a lot of people think the mother could have killed Jon Benet. I'm open to a lot of different ideas regarding it. It could have been the brother. Who knows? I know he's just very young at the time, but Jon Benet was even younger at the time. So it wouldn't take a lot. But there is a fine line, I even have it written in my notes. There is a fine line that you cannot cross when you're going to start pointing the fingers at people. Okay? Now you should know, because this comes up once in a while, that, some guests do ask me, well, I'm worried about, naming names and everything else. And I point out to them, there are two standards for libel and slander in the United States. In Canada, it may be different. In other countries where they kind of have free speech, it may be different. But in the United States, it's two standards. You can't lie. Okay, first of all, the plaintiff, so in this case, Jon Benet Ramsey's brother, will have to prove that these people lied about him. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. The other standard, though, it's just not that the people lied. The person who brings the case has to be able to prove that their reputation has been damaged. That's the one that people usually forget about. They know they can't lie, but it's the other one. The reputation has to be shown. So a person lost their job, a person lost a business deal, a person got divorced, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not just that somebody lies. You have to prove damages. And I got to tell you, this seems like a winnable case to me. All right. Cherie saying you didn't see this, Cherie, did you? Oh, yeah. Laura, I can't remember. I didn't write down the brother's name. Janice says his name is Burke. Thank you. Carrie said, sadly, that was one case that was shoved down our throats so much I avoided it, Carrie says. Rachel saying Burke Ramsey. Thank you, ladies, for telling me the first name. Lori says, I knew it started with a B. I think that it was very easy to see. Once again, I don't watch these shows, but I saw enough of the previews and people talking about online that CBS went way over the line for ratings. This is why, Dr. Phil and all these people, I don't take them seriously when they start covering cases because a lot of it is sensationalism and hype and everything else. They don't know anything about crime in the United States. They don't know. They don't. They're doing a show. They're doing a show. And they're looking at, what's going to get ratings and, can we get it in within the time limit and, things like that. And when you start doing things that way, you open yourself up for problems. You do. And this, to me, is, I think it's going to be a big problem. But, the reason I'm bringing it out is not just because it's Jon Benet Ramsey's case, which is a well-known case, but, you can learn a little bit also about what goes through my head and through my guest's head as well when we are planning out what we're going to talk about and how we're going to talk about it. The most important thing is we don't lie. Okay, we don't lie. All right? Maybe that, some of my guests say they've heard something, but saying that you heard something is not a lie. Now, that may be a lie, but I leave that all up to you to determine, do you think it's a lie? Do you think it's the truth? And I will tell you, I don't know. Sounds like a rumor, could be true. I don't know. But as long as I feel that the guest is being truthful about that. Now, sometimes when I don't feel it, that may be really, really exaggerating, we leave it out. Even when it comes to suspects, we just stick to the facts. If they have a criminal record, we talk about it. If they have, if they have a drug conviction, we talk about it. If they're known as being, like for this Friday's case, if they're known for being a meth cooker in a certain area of a state, we talk about it. All right, we just put these facts together, and you are the ones who have to decide if they make any sense or not. Is this true? Is this not true? And everything. I never want to think, I don't never want you, the listeners, to think that I'm losing these a lot tonight, that I'm going after somebody, okay? I'm not. I'm just going where the facts take me. And sometimes they lead me in different directions. Just do. But they just did this wrong way. I think that they're a little desperate. I think people probably got desperate. We can get big ratings and we can get this and we can have on it and we can make him look really questionable and everybody will be talking about it. And then you open yourself up for a lawsuit. So And Michelle says, yes, it's always about ratings. Tammy, good to see you. Getting in a little late, but that's okay. And Sarah, good to see you. Oh, Sherry. Now, see, Sherry, this is people. This is what we call sucking up to the host. Sherry says, so nice to listen to a host with integrity and honesty no matter what. That is sucking up to the host right there. Right there. And I love it. So there you go. Thanks, Sherry. But, and I realized this, and it's funny. When I had my meeting with the Tribune Review in August, I got together with the CEO, Jennifer Bertetto, and two of her editors. I even told them that their standard for what they do is a little bit different than what I do. I realize the podcasting is a little bit, when it comes to media, is a little bit wild, wild west. I think that we can test the boundaries on certain things more than a newspaper can, like, the Wall Street Journal, the Tribune Review, or news sites can. That's my perception. All right, because once again, podcasting, still kind of a new medium, still figuring out everything. But even having said that, I don't believe I go half as far on Unfound as I know other shows do. And I have to say that I'm surprised there haven't been more podcasts that have gotten in trouble, for pushing things too far. But I realize, and I've told them, I realize that, compared to the medium that Unfound is using, compared to what the Tribune Review is and everything, it's a little different. It's a little different. But I still try to maintain the idea that we're not going to lie to make people seem guilty. We're not going to lie to make the case juicier, whatever that means. But I know that a lot of true crime programs do that. And I should say, I have a lot of complaints about the TV show Disappeared, but they don't do that. I have a lot of complaints about them for other reasons. But Disappeared, they make mistakes and things, but it never feels to me like they're trying to push a suspect or an idea down the throat. I never think that they cross the line with that type of stuff and editing things to make something. And so for that reason, I think that they've been able to do what they do and name everything so many years and never been sued because they do it the right way. There you go. And Sherry's, Michelle says, it's true though, Ed. Thanks. Podcasting is still in its infancy. True. Carrie says, compared to old media, I guess you could put it that way. Adrian says, I'm really hooked to this podcast. Can't get enough of it. Good job. Adrian, thank you. I haven't seen your name in for the live show before. Are you a new person here? If you are, I love it. Thank you. Stephanie says, Wild Wild West, I'm so visual. It just kind of is, and I forget where I got that saying. It had to do with something else, some sort of something that was just starting out, and and they were calling it the Wild Wild West compared to what had been going on to that point. I forget what that was. And Cherie says, I immediately thought of A Million Ways to Die in the West. Okay. So there's that. So you can go read this. And so this DA is getting subpoenaed. He doesn't want to get subpoenaed. He's trying to avoid it. I don't think he's personally being sued, but he's trying to avoid the subpoena. And it's a $750 million lawsuit. It seems to me like Burke Ramsey is trying to hit Megamillions. Okay, this Friday's case. It is the disappearance of Lacey Buenfil from Altoona, Florida, on December 27th, 2011. Now, the reason that's weird is because I think we just had another case, Bobby Campbell's case, where I think the date was the same except many years before that. I think it was also December 27th, if I'm remembering it right. Adrian, you are new. Adrian, thanks for tuning in tonight. Deeply appreciated. Thank you for making time tonight. Carrie says, I pictured Will Smith. That is a bad movie, Carrie. Wild Wild West, bad movie. TV show, the old TV show, really good. The movie, no bueno. Lacey Buenfil disappeared from Altoona, Florida on December 27th, 2011. The on-the-record story, if you were to go to my friend Megan Good's site, charlieproject.org or Megan Good, is that she was out with a guy, his name is Terry McDowell. They were out in his truck in the Ocala National Forest, which is in the upper middle of the state of Florida. I've been there. And they got stuck. They were out there four-wheeling or something. They got stuck. And Lacey walked off to get help, and she disappeared. And then he managed to be able to get his phone to work. Somebody came out and towed his vehicle. He got a ride, and she's been missing ever since. That is the official story if you were to read any news articles or any true crime websites and forums. I'm here to tell you that I'm not sure that happened. This episode is called Up the Rabbit Hole, not down the rabbit hole, but up the rabbit hole, because there are so many stories in this case, so many rumors. Now, what's also interesting about this case, unique, is that I'm not talking to Lacey's mother or father or any siblings. The guest is essentially her mother-in-law. Now, the guest is Cindy Fox. Lacey and Cindy's son were a couple, and they have 3 children together, but they were never married. But I still called her the mother-in-law during this episode. You should know that Cindy's son was nowhere near where Lacey disappeared. He is not a suspect at all in the case, and I wanted to make sure of that before I really got too deep into it, because you start thinking the mother-in-law, well, that's kind of strange. But I'm telling you, Cindy's a great person. And if you remember from about 6 weeks ago when I told you that I posted some pictures and things, I told you I'd been up in Central Florida, and I posted a picture of like a dilapidated trailer, and I even posted another picture in the discussion group, I think, yesterday. I went up and met Cindy, her husband, and another woman who have been working on this case on Lacey's disappearance since it happened. Cindy has stacks of notebooks of work that she's done on this case. She has a poster that's like 8 feet long with all these pictures and lines and everything. So even though this sounds, at least to the public, like a very simple case of a girl possibly walking off, I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. All these people she was involved with were meth heads, meth cookers, and we all know in these cases when those people pop up that how many crazy stories you're going to get. Well, Cindy has heard quite a few, and we talk about a few of them during the episode. You're going to hear a lot. It's going to be probably a little difficult to keep track of all of the names. I tried to keep it as simple as possible, but it was a little tough, okay, because she's gotten to know so many people, and she's heard rumors about so many things, and she has certainly gone down the rabbit hole to try to figure out what happened to the mother of her 3 grandchildren. But this is why it's called Up the Rabbit Hole, because I'm hoping that by covering this case, we can bring Cindy out of the rabbit hole. We can all get the case out of the rabbit hole and back to a place where we can start to filter out a lot of the noise that I think has been created by these people. Okay? So the episode is called Up the Rabbit Hole, and the guest is Cindy Fox, the de facto mother-in-law of Lacey Buenfil. Okay? And it was, we went up there and I got to see most of the locations that are involved in this disappearance, and it was really what happened.